We are, therefore I am. When we are, I am. And we don't understand that anymore. We are the African people. You understand? And that's our biggest problem. Because we're out here following the beast. This is the beast. And what does he say? Were the Spaniards that cruel? There were 80 million people here and he only killed 70 million. If only for economic reasons, the Spanish cared deeply for the welfare of the natives. Genocide, in fact, may be the unfairest of all the accusations leveled at Spain. If, you know, they tell the truth, they always like it. If the term is used in its proper sense, to describe the intentional, systematic eradication of a race. Well, if you get the series of books put out by Smithsonian and stuff, you will see Europeans systematically destroyed Native Americans. They systematically soaked the blankets in smallpox. That's right. Native Americans didn't die from natural, sure. Some of them had, some of them had diseases. But the Europeans would sell them deliberately, smear the blankets with smallpox, pus, and sell it to the people. And Native Americans then, innate vegetarians and stuff, did not have an immunity system to deal with that, going back to why we have lupus. Did not have it. Lupus is the breakdown of your immunity system because you're diseased. You're ill at ease. You cannot get yourself back together. I have lupus, but I don't use medication. I try to go back into my ancestors and deal with it.
No.
You know, that's it. They killed me 4 times. I must admit they killed me 4 times before I decided that enough of the beast. Enough of the beast. I went on the other side 4 times. My ancestors said, the next time you come, we're going to keep me. Who were the people here? Oh, my message really is the Lakota people in the hills up there at the Pine Ridge Reservation took their case to court. Now, one thing Malcolm taught us is you can't go to the rapist and say, pay me for raping. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We need to look at that. So the Native Americans took their case to court, and they won, Maine, just the peak part of it. They won, and the Supreme Court of Maine said, well, yes, you really have title to 3/4 of the state, but it would create such a hardship on the white folks here that we're just going to say no judgment. You win the case, but no judgment. You see, that's hypocrisy. And it's hypocrisy for us because we believe in the truth and honesty and judgment and retribution. But the European believes in white supremacy.
That's right.
And white supremacy is built on the concept that humanity is a mistake in the world because of original sin. And even if Eve, the mother of all white people who is evil, and that's what they say, you know, Eve is the etymology of evil. Even if Eve did make a mistake, we wouldn't be paying for it because a just God wouldn't be punishing your children to pay for the mistakes of your mother. So you got to look at that. But they believe that, see. They took our concept, our ancient Kemetic concept of divine reality that rules the world in cosmic order according to Ma'at, and they reduced it to this very mean sucker that they have been worshiping who smites everybody. You know, I was smite, you know, goes around, you know, half the world is smitten. I was very Catholic. I used to be busy reading my, you know, Hail Marys because I was afraid this cat was going to strike. Now, and this is very important, and it's one of the things that we have to stop doing. One, we have to stop beating up the Pharaoh, and two, we have to learn why Moses really left Egypt. And three, we have to look at their concept of God and our concept of God. Our concept of God, I don't care what you are, and I challenge anybody in here to argue with me. Our concept of God, non-white people, is God is for us. If God don't be for me, nobody be for me. Europeans' concept of God is against them. He's against them, and he's against everybody else. And right? You just read that stuff. And he says, now, I'm going to help you, but if you don't do it, I'm going to kick your butt too. Right? Look what he did to poor Job. Job was a good dude. You know, that is not our concept of God. We wouldn't have shrines coming in the house if we thought the person that was it. Now, when we have shrines, you need to understand that. It's not that we think, oh, Guru, Batala, Shango, Oren, Wakonta, whatever principle of the manifestation of divinity we happen to give reverence to. It's not that we think that that is the totality of divinity. What it is that is what we decide to focus on. You don't like, you fall in love with somebody, you focus on the good part. You don't, focus on everything. And that's one of the problems, because the European tells you one rather than oneness. And think about it. If God, whatever you call God, is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing, all-being, everywhere, what is the optimum word? All. Well, ain't you something? So if you're something, you're part of all, right? So that means that you're a manifestation of that all. You ain't the whole thing, but you're a manifestation of it. But the European believes in one, not oneness, and that divine power is up there. He can't talk to it, can't speak to it, it don't speak to him, he can't have no argument with it. He don't know what it's going to do until after he dies, and then he probably, that thing, whatever he is worshiping, which is no thing, is going to burn him forever in hell for something he ain't even going to be sure that he did. That is not your God. You may think it is. It isn't even the God that gave the slaves. Because when they gave you the 10 Commandments, which Moses took out of the 42 affirmations of faith, when they gave you, they didn't even give you the interpretation they gave each other. They certainly didn't tell slaves when they were making a woman have babies by anybody, and they were taking the male and making him the big buck. They certainly didn't go around and say, thou shalt not commit adultery. But they did. They said, thou shalt not commit adultery. And you said, Master, what is adultery? And the Master said, disobeying me. That's the adultery. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? We have bought into something we've never examined. We've never done an anthropological study on this sucker. So the Lakotas won their case, and the government said, we'll give you $110 million for the hills. And they said, no. Number one, we're not taking a dime because you had no business taking the hills. We want the hills back. And in addition, we want the $40 billion worth of gold that you took out of the hills back. You understand? Now, when they came to here, we don't know we don't know much European history. But right here in Nicaragua, out in Bolivia, there are silver mountains. Now, Europe was land poor, people poor, and resources poor. And they did a lot of trading. And that's why they used people, because it was the basis of their wealth. They traded people. And out of the Crusades, they traded people and all that. And they tell you the Crusades were for religious purposes, but they weren't, because they went and stole everything they got their hands on. And then the last Crusade, where they used the children, they then put the children in slavery after they had them fighting. You need to read European history. But here in Bolivia and Potosi, P-O-T-O-S-I, they mined enough silver to build a bridge, if you wanted to, from here all the way back to Spain. Now what that did was it introduced a standardized world economy. A standardized world economy.